Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine. Well, another Halloween themed video. I've recently looked back at the first Black Sabbath album, and another album that came up recently on the Now Spinning Magazine Facebook community weekend when we looked at Halloween things was Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. This is my favourite Alice Cooper album. I recently looked at the albums box set by Alice Cooper, and I've got everything he's done. The Live at the Aston Turf one is the most recent one I bought, but all of his albums, everything, right through the most recent years going back to the beginning, I have them all. I've become a massive Alice Cooper fan. And if any artist sums up Halloween or a kind of like tongue-in-cheek kind of cartoon horror, then it is Alice Cooper. But this, to me, is the pinnacle of that. His first solo album, really, away from the band, and was it the first or only album for Atlantic Records. How did I discover this? Well, this is 1975, isn't it? I discovered this quite late on, actually. Well, quite late on, it'd only be a few years later. I used to go to a rock club called Sabbath Rock in Birmingham, well, just outside Birmingham. And one of the tracks that got all the kids on the dance floor playing their air guitars to was Devil's Food, which segued into The Black Widow. And The Black Widow is an immense song because it features Vincent Price doing a vocal overdub where he talks about the beauty of the Black Widow spider and how it devours the mate, etc. And he goes into, it's just pure Vincent Price tongue-in-cheek hammer horror stuff, and it really, really works. And then it goes into these words he speaks are true, or just human ear is stew, and boom, we're into this fantastic riff and guitar in and everything. And that track has got some wonderful key changes and uplifting vocal interchanges and guitar parts. It's just brilliant. It really is, and it's just makes you feel fantastic. And the other song that you may have known this album from, if you're thinking nope, is Only Women Bleed, which I think was a hit single for Julie Covington in the UK, and it's a beautiful ballad, one of Alice Cooper's most beautiful ballads, and you know, and very, very pro women. Thinking of the time in the 70s, he was out on a limb here, but I think it's a beautiful song. And then after that, he just dials back into the territory of Schools Out, where we go to the Department of Youth, which is its kind of not too distant cousin in many ways, and it's got some great production. This was produced by Bob Ezrin. What a guy. Bob Ezrin, Kiss, Destroyer, Deep Purple. Well, I could name them all, couldn't I? But he really does, throws the kitchen sink at the, children choruses, and this little CD, by the way, has got a great little booklet in it. It's just absolutely superb track. Very poppy, superb. And then we move on to, let's just check actually, I'm sure it's side 2, isn't it? Yes, it is. Exactly, actually, we're already on side 2. But what I was trying to get at is, because it's the way my brain formulates my memories here, is that side 2 to me, even though Department of Youth opens up side 2, to me, side 2 didn't really start until we got to years ago. The track before that is Cold Ethyl, about being in love with a corpse, which is typical Alice Cooper stuff, really. But again, done very much tongue-in-cheek. It really is, the lyrics are very funny. But what happens after that is, years ago, Stephen and the Awakening. I could probably tag in the Escape there. And these tracks are connected completely. And it's ahead of its time, this. The film Halloween came out in 1978, and the soundtrack to Halloween by John Carpenter is probably one of the best horror music soundtrack motifs ever. And Stephen has a kind of piano motif that's, well, it's not that far removed, to be honest. Now, whether John Carpenter listened to a bit of Alice, could have done. And also the fact that Stephen is about a disturbed individual who's not quite... It's disturbing. It's not... It doesn't sound like the person you'd want to probably be sharing a room with, let's put it that way. And it's got this... And Alice does this very kind of scary voice as he describes Stephen's kind of fall into madness or despair. And the music just goes with it. It's really atmospheric, thanks to Bob Ezrin. And those songs, years ago, Stephen and the one at the end of that sequence, which I've just got with The Awakening, is just brilliant. Absolutely superb. So if you don't listen to a lot of Alice Cooper, or you think you know Alice Cooper but you don't know this record, then play this, and it's like a chocolate box. Welcome to My Nightmare is a separate track to the album, but they all flow together. But you've got like the tongue-in-cheek, humorous, great choruses and stuff. But that little section, which could easily be made into a film, and he did revisit this subject later on, a much later album. But that, to me, side 2 starts with that trilogy and ends with that trilogy, really. The last song, Escape, is good. The CD version comes with some extra tracks, an alternative version of Devil's Food, Cold Ethyl, and The Awakening alternative version, but otherwise it is what it is. But this is highly recommended. It's a desert island disc for me. It really is. So, thank you for watching, thank you for being here, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for supporting me and the Now Spinning magazine project. I really appreciate it. And thank you especially to my patrons, especially Clive, Chris, Andy and Yogi, and everyone else who's recently come on board. Remember, music is the healer. Keep spinning those records, and I shall see you in my next video.